Hey, everybody. Good morning or good afternoon, whenever you're watching this. Happy Tuesday to you. Going to give you a quick refresher video on our McGraw Hill Modern World History textbook, and specifically the online platform for that book that we are repiloting in the fall because of what happened in the spring. If you're new to Modern World, our plan was to pilot two separate books in the spring, a Pearson textbook in the third quarter, and then this Modern World History textbook from McGraw Hill in the fourth quarter. Obviously, we shut down on the last day of the third quarter, so most Modern World teachers use the Pearson platform and then didn't get to the McGraw Hill platform, which is why we're going to repilot it. We've re-upped with McGraw Hill to repilot in the fall. Specifically, those who didn't teach it in the spring and don't have a teacher edition, strongly suggest you get your hands on one of these ASAP. I know Jeannie, you're teaching it. Megan teaching it and didn't teach it in the spring. So grab one of these because everything I'm going to go over on the platform is pretty much in here. Well, with the exception, I think, of making the assessments. So, although there's a lot of assessment stuff in here. And I like to use both, and I'm going to illustrate how I use both in a moment. So, first order of business, here you are. You can see my desktop here. Oh, how do I get into the platform? How do I access McGraw Hill? I got my drive here. I got some email. I got my Google Classroom is up and Power Teacher. Where do I get McGraw Hill? Well, you can't, not from here. So click on these three little dots over here to the right of your search bar. Click on it, and you have to open an incognito window because we are piloting McGraw Hill. We don't have logins, indefinite logins, or in perpetuity logins. So they have created logins that are going to expire for us, and they're not correlated to our AUSD emails. So you're going to click new incognito window and go to straight up Google. Just go to the Google homepage. So type google.com, and here you are. And this page should look familiar. Everyone knows what the Google homepage looks like. Do not hit this waffle yet. You're not going to find McGraw Hill. You have to sign in, and how you sign in is hugely important. Or else you're not going to get to the platform. So, I click on it and it says, do you want to be pgreen at AUSD.net? That's how you sign into everything. No, because they created limited access for us. So pgreen at students.ausd.net. So for example, Mr. Jones will have to log in as djones at students.ausd.net. J Ackerman at students.ausd.net. K Percy, etc., etc., etc. So once you do that, it's going to ask for your password. Your password is the same as your normal J Ackerman at AUSD.net. Same password, but you have to log in at students.ausd.net. So now once you're here, you're like, oh, green, I'm on the Google page again. Where's McGraw Hill? So now you go to the waffle. Once you log in as, again, at students.ausd.net. So mfreeze at students.ausd.net. Scroll all the way down, and there it is. It's a red square. It says McGraw Hill Education or McGraw Hill Connect Ed. Go ahead and click on that, and it will take you to what is called your, it'll take you to the McGraw Hill platform, but this is your launching site, your launching pad. Everything will go to this McGraw Hill homepage. So for instance, I am teaching 4 Modern World sections, or 3 Modern Worlds and 1 Sedai Modern World. So they're all going to pop up right here. I'll move my head out of the way so we can see. Now, here are the ones I taught last year. This was my period 4, my period 5, my period 6. Once you log in, Mr. Jones, Ms. Percy, Mr. Freeze, you're going to see last year's because they haven't populated this fall's roster yet, and they're not going to do it. I spoke with Catherine Morell this morning. They're not going to do it until Wednesday. So this really sucks if you didn't teach it in the spring, Ms. Leahy, Ms. Ackerman, because you can't access the platform at all until they populate your rosters. And once they populate your rosters, McGraw Hill has an agreement with AUSD that they are going to automatically link these up. Your rosters will be here. So by next Wednesday, this will be gone because this is last spring's rosters for me. These are last spring's rosters for me. Wednesday, you're going to see period 3, period 4, period 5 and period 6. I'm not sure if period 4 will be different because it's Sedai. Maybe it is. But so let's just assume it's next Wednesday. Oh, cool. I'm going to click on here. You can click where it says Modern World History B. You can click where it says Impact. You can click where it says Launch. It's going to take you to the same place. It's going to take you to the textbook and all of the myriad of resources. So you click on that. And yes, this is not my Wi-Fi. It is a little slow on the uptick. I'm not sure why that is. So here you are. You're on the platform now. This is the basic page. You don't really want to spend a ton of time here. But as you can see on the left, your drop-down menus, again, the page where we came from, those are your programs. That's your launch page. This is your dashboard. You can look at the course. The grade book for all the things you assign will be here. Assignments, your rosters. So I can click the roster. Oh, here's everyone who was in my period 4 Modern World History class last spring. I see Alexis, I see Sabrina, Daniela, etc., etc., etc. So let me go back to my dashboard where we just were previously. Cool. Now I'm here. Now from here, you could look at the teacher's edition of the textbook. You could look at the interactive student edition. That's fine. But again, you want to be more specific. So where it says browse your course, click on that. You'll get this drop down menu. I'm going to assume we're all going to start on chapter 1, the world before modern times. This introduces, but you can start wherever you want. But just for the sake of this video, we're starting on chapter 1. So you click on this, and it's going to take you to chapter 1. Again, it's slow on the uptick. This is not my Wi-Fi. My Wi-Fi in my house is fine. So it takes you to chapter 1. This is the title of the textbook up here, but you're going to get all the resources for chapter 1. Chapter 1 is called The World Before Modern Times. So boom, everything, and there's so many drop-down menus. I'm going to be honest, I'm a big fan of this textbook. I love all the resources. I spent a lot of time in the spring playing with this because I wasn't sure if that was going to be our pilot. So as you can see, student edition, teacher edition, introductory resources, chapter activities, projects, worksheets, chapter review, assessment, Spanish, Espanol resources, professional learning, teacher added resources. You can add your own resources. Like maybe Megan finds a bunch of primary sources that are really cool for chapter 1, and she can upload them here and say, hey guys, I added some primary sources, whatever. All right, so I spend most of the time in the student edition. So if you click on that, it'll bring up what the students have access to. So these two are basically the same. The print student ebook, this is what the students are going to read. The interactive ebook is better. The words are bigger. You don't have to zoom in every time. But this bad boy right here, the interactive inquiry journal ebook, I've used this not every single day, but a lot of days, maybe 3 times a week in the spring. I'll click on it right here, and you can see it's activities, it's little review things. Hey, we read chapter 1, lesson 1, so let's fill in this chart from your interactive journal, and you can assign it. I'll show you how to do that in a second. So you click on the journal, and it now write down 3 additional questions that will help you explain how to define a civilization. You can assign that. You can scroll down. You can go to the next page. Oh, I don't want to assign that. Let me see what's over here. Ooh, cool. Summarize the characteristics of civilization. I can assign that. I can assign that. Ooh, there's a Venn diagram. I want my students to fill in this Venn diagram, but I don't want them to do anything else. Okay. Well, what you have to do, this is number 2. You just want to assign number 2, and it's on the second page of the inquiry journal. Okay. So, all right, let's figure this out. Number 2 on page. All right, well, boom. Now you click assign. It's going to be super easy. You click assign. I want them to do number 2 on page 2 of the interactive inquiry journal. Well, it's already telling your students that you want them to access the inquiry journal. Now, instructions, you can put, please, I can spell, please complete just number 2 on page 2 of the journal. And then you can remind them it's a Venn diagram. And then you can assign, okay, start today, but it's due tomorrow before midnight. points possible. You can, they always want to know how many points is this worth? Tell them, okay, 5 points, whatever. Grade category, it's going to go into assignments. And this is really cool because I'm teaching so many different modern worlds. I can just, boom, assign it to all of my classes. Now, once you assign anything in the McGraw Hill platform, it directly goes to the Google Classroom page. Once Catherine and or the district office populates the McGraw Hill platform with our rosters next Wednesday, it will be connected to Google Classroom page. It's an easy link up. And then once you assign anything, it will remind them, or it goes into Google Classroom page. Mr. Green wants you to complete number 2 on page 2 of the interactive inquiry journal. It tells them what time it's due, tells them how many points it's worth, et cetera, et cetera. So that's how you assign something. Again, just walk yourself through it. You guys are all smart. It's really, really self-explanatory, really easy. Teacher edition. Lots going on here. You can do lessons. Here's the book. You can read it. I prefer to read the bigger words here, so you don't have to zoom in on every page. This is really helpful for Mr. Jones and myself. Probably Mr. Wong. I don't know if Miss Percy is teaching Sedai or English language learners this fall. So you can click on here. Lots of resources in the language learner teaching guide. It walks you through how to introduce the chapter to our English language learners. Go over this, go over that. And then, okay, lesson 1. Here's some objectives for our English language learners. Let's work on some content vocab, some academic vocab. Guide them with questions, building meaning. And then I really love this. There's always a graphic organizer for our English language learners, Mr. Jones, to help with that. There are other resources as well, but it literally goes chapter by chapter with questions to ask the students, with helpful hints, with graphic organizers, lesson activities, etc., etc. So that is cool. Every chapter has introductory resources or introduction resources. I love these, and you can assign them. I would do my videos for the students in the spring, and I would just show them on my screen like I'm showing you. Hey, there's always going to be a primary source in the introduction, and there's always going to be a map, and there's the essential questions for the section. You can add your own teaching notes, etc., etc. I really like these, and yeah, also in the introduction, always a map. I'm big on maps. I think I was probably a cartographer in a former life. Would you like to now? Yeah, sure. Let's go back to last time I looked at this. Sure. Again, it's a little slow on the uptick. Always primary source. We got a quote here from, Adam Smith, Wealth of Nations. And, ooh, this is really cool. Students probably going to think this is cool. Maybe it's just nerdy me. Trade routes, which is really applicable to this first chapter, talking about trade routes. And then you can assign it. Like, hey, just do number 1 on page 2 of your introduction resource, the one that's called Place and Time. You can assign it to all of your students. Chapter review. Again, the chapter review is in the hard book, so they can do this, or they can pull up the PDF that you assign to them here and answer some questions. Now, chapter assessment. So you've taught lesson 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 from chapter 1, and you are ready to create an assessment. Oh my gosh, how do I do it with McGraw Hill? Well, they've already done it for you. They have test A and test B. Maybe Megan is teaching 2 sections of Modern World. She doesn't want them cheating between period 2 and period 3. So she assigns form A to period 2 and form B to period 3, whatever. You can do that. Or I don't like their assessments personally. There's only 15 questions. I like to have more. So there's Spanish resources, professional learning down here. So this is our whole chapter 1. These are all the resources. They're all super great. Spend time with them. But now you're ready to create an assessment. Boom. Click assessment right there on the left. Clicking assessment is going to take you, and again, it'll take a second, but it's going to take you to this assessment page. As you can see, my assessments, I already created some, and I went all the way through last spring. I made one for chapter 13, not for 14 because it was an essay test, but 15, 16, and 17. But now I'm ready to create one for chapter 1. So I click new assessment. Let's go chapter 1 test, cool, call it whatever you want, create assessment. It's going to take you to all these question banks for chapter one. Do you want to create questions, add questions from question bank? You can add your own, combine it to the same test. I really, really like this feature. It's super cool. So what I always did when I was creating my assessments, I went into here and then boom, chapter one, tons and tons of questions. Literally, as you can see, we have 20 on the first page and they have 8 total pages of questions. So help me with the math. That's like 160 possible questions. I usually do about 25 for my freshman modern world history test. They could be true false, they could be matching, multiple choice. Fill in the blanks. There's really, really lots of different assessment questions. I like them a lot. So spend time in the assessment features um, and play with it. And it's really easy to make a test. You can do it in like 5 or 10 minutes. Assignments, so you could pull up here or which assignments did I assign for chapter one? They'll all be listed for you. You can look at your rosters. I think I already showed you how to do that. So yeah, as you can see, also Mr. Green assigned some chapter 17 questions, some chapter 16 questions, inquiry journal stuff, et cetera, et cetera, life during the Cold War stuff. So these are all the assignments, as you can see. I worked them pretty hard in the spring. I'm kind of embarrassed about that. So this is everything I assigned during the fourth quarter, right? So it's all still there because, like I said, they haven't flipped it to repopulate for the fall semester as of yet. So you can go back to my programs. And again, this is your start page. Whenever you're ready to look at all those resources, just click on the book or click launch or click here. They're all going to take you to the same place. Now, what I have done is I've gone through, I've done it for a lot of them already. So here's our textbook. When we started working in the fourth quarter, we started with chapter 13, which is the Cold War. Cold War begins. I created my own PowerPoints because they have some PowerPoint options on the McGraw Hill platform, but they're really limited, so I like to do them myself. So here's the one I created for chapter one, lesson one, which will be starting, I don't know, in a couple weeks when we're ready to jump into the textbook. So when I sit down to create a PowerPoint, I use this. I put this in front of me and I read and take my own notes because clicking back and forth to the platform, which as you can see is not on my desktop, I have to go back here and then click back. That's a whole lot of extra work. So I use the hard copy when I create my PowerPoints or when I want to pull stuff off of here because navigating back and forth between the incognito window and your desktop is a pain in the butt. I think that's everything. If you have any questions, email me. I didn't go over every resource. I went over, I think, the ones you need from the onset and the ones that I think are most important. But I'm not professing to be an expert at McGraw Hill. But like I said, I worked with it pretty extensively in the spring. So if you have questions, email me. I guess that's it. All right. Best wishes for an awesome fall, guys. Hope to see you soon, preferably without a mask. All right. Adios.